you want to dive right in, Premier?
Yeah, fire away.
All right, Ashley.
Yeah, I guess rather than wasting my questions on the basics, maybe Premier, you could just give us an opening statement that covers, the essentials of the meeting, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we had a great meeting. It was a great opportunity. My first time in official capacity outside of the province, and it was a pleasure to meet with Premier Legault. We discussed numerous items, including economic opportunity for the North, a green energy transition. We discussed reconciliation, mining opportunities, and COVID-19.
Okay, I'm going to back it up a minute. So in terms of, I guess, when this meeting was established, can you give more detail on that? Specifically, when was it requested, who requested it, and at what point it was decided that the meeting would happen?
Sure. I believe over the last few weeks, of course, the Premier and I talked, or, where all premiers communicate fairly regularly. And we suggested that it'd be a good time to meet as the restrictions were being lifted across the country. And I'm not sure exactly, to be honest, when this particular date was landed on, but it's been in the works for a few weeks.
Ashley, you can have another one because you took the overview for the team.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, I just wanted to ask about, in terms of the electricity front, the rate mitigation agreement. Was there any discussion of that with Premier Legault, and essentially what can you tell us about that particular discussion?
Sure. We did discuss Muskrat Falls, and he was supportive of the agreement with the federal government, was happy to see that this came to a conclusion for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And it was, as he's expressed in the past, I believe, in public, supportive of the fact that we were able to conclude this with our federal partners.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. Kellyanne?
Yes, thank you. I'm actually going to go back on something that on the settlement between Nalcor and Hydro-Quebec. Just your comments on that, Premier, and what it could mean for the province going forward with a new contract potentially on the horizon.
You're talking about the most recent decision, Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. I think it's a good decision for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. It allows us to at least know what the floor is, and moving past that allows us to look at different revenue streams for CFLCO into the future. So, I mean, that decision was a good one, I think, and allows us to plan. Importantly, allows Miss Williams and her team to fully plan into the future.
And I'm going to pivot big time here, but the province announced 9 new cases today,
Sure.
But a lot of concerns coming up about George Street Festival and the crowds that are being seen there. Just your comments on that and what people should do or be aware of.
That I saw some of those pictures with the concern that many of your viewers, I'm sure, did as well. Dr. Fitzgerald, the government has put in place significant recommendations, and we hope and it's expected that people abide by them. So that includes social distancing and limitations on certain gathering sizes. So, but we will certainly be looking closer at what occurred on the weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kellyanne. Jeremy?
Premier Furey, during these talks in Quebec, was there any mention, or did you two speak about Gull Island at all?
Jeremy, we talked at a very high level about the hydroelectric capacity in Labrador and the immense opportunity that it represents, especially during this time of transition and disruption in the energy markets. We know that both provinces know that there is going to be increasing demand for clean, green energy, and that represents a significant opportunity. And of course, we have 3 hydroelectric projects on the potential hydroelectric projects on the Upper Churchill River, and they were all talked at a very, very, very high level, recognizing that there is the potential for significant synergies to be capitalized on, and recognizing that we own significant capacity while they own significant opportunity with transmission quarter.
And everybody knows this, the Upper Churchill expires in 20 years in 2041. Was there any talk of the transition, I guess, for Newfoundland to take control, or sorry, this province to take control of it? Or, is Quebec maybe looking at trying to extend it, making us an offer? Was there any discussion about what's going to happen in the next 2 decades?
No, not in any extent. I mean, we talked again in very high level about the hydroelectric capacity in general for Labrador. But of course, as we know, 2041 is coming very quickly. And I think everyone needs to remember that in 2041, CFLCO is still divided between Newfoundland and Labrador and Quebec. They still own 34.2% of CFLCO. There is still there's still another subscription of another 99 years worth of water rights. So, you know, we do need to start to get our heads around how we as a province want to move forward. But I will assure everybody out there that whatever is going to be done will be done with the best interest of the province in mind. Of course, we have learned lessons from the past, but we can't be anchored to them that would prohibit us from exercising opportunities in the future. But there will be no giveaways, and it will be whatever will be done in the future. And this was not discussed, will be for the benefit of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
Thanks, Jeremy. Is there anybody there from VO to ask a question? VOCM?
I was just
Going.
They had a fire drill.
Oh my
Something happened
gosh.
with it, yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on to CPAC. Do we have Daniel from CPAC on the line? Okay, moving on to Glenn Whiffen from the Telegram.
Hi, Premier.
Hi, Glenn.
Ask you again about the Upper Churchill and if that was involved in the discussions at all. And you say the discussions were at a high level. I just want to know how much the Upper Churchill factored into those.
We didn't get into any specifics about either one of the projects. We did talk at a very high level about, you know, the capacity that Labrador represents and what the energy demands for the northeastern seaboard and perhaps in even Ontario are going to be in the future, especially as economies transition away from gas and into a green, reliable source like hydroelectric capacity. So we didn't get into any of the specifics. This is not to oversimplify this, but this was the first meeting of two premiers who have never met in face to face. This was first time being able to meet with Premier Legault, and it was a healthy exchange of ideas, including things on the CHT, COVID-19 passports, all kinds of different topics. So, you know, while hydroelectric capacity, of course, is a key component, potential synergies into the future, there was no granular specific details or discussions on any one or all the projects together.
How do you feel the relationship is between Newfoundland and Quebec now? I mean, there's always been tense in the past and a lot of rocky,
Sure.
I guess. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, one of the things that COVID-19 did show us in this time of disruption is that we can work together. So, of course, I know there are whispers, and I can see people dusting off their keyboards right now to write, you know, fearful, anxiety-provoking blogs over whatever meeting just happened. And I want to, again, assure people that there was no specific details discussed towards any potential agreement. And if there was, we'd be very open about it and make sure that everyone understood that it would be in the best benefit of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I know there's a lot of fear right when it comes to our relationship with Quebec, but the best antidote to fear is reason. And we're going to proceed with a reasonable, prudent, responsible approach to any potential future projects with our neighbors in Quebec.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Alex?
Hi there, Premier. On the mining side, sounds like this is pretty general stuff, but were you specifically looking at some of these cross-border assets for things like rare earth?
We were looking at some cross-border assets, and we were looking at you know, some specific potential investments that would be beneficial on both sides. For example, upgrades in the Sept-Îles, and looking at even potential about how we help each other ensure that the mining developments that are occurring are both green and also reflect and respect a tone of reconciliation, which I had spoke with the NG, President Lamp, and offered letters. Prior to this meeting, I sent letters, Minister Dempster sent letters on my behalf to the 3 Indigenous leaders in Labrador to ask them if they had any issues they wanted to discuss, and mining and the cross-jurisdictional issues around that trough where it was brought up, and certainly we raised it today, but it was a real healthy discussion about how we can be synergistic in the approach. And I know that word is used a lot, but there are real overlaps there that we can exercise for the benefit of both Quebecers and Newfoundlanders and Labradorians.
And you've had a couple questions on the HQ and hydro settlement on the declaratory judgment case. You've said that this allows us to know where the floor is, but what is that floor? Because hydro won't disclose what that annual energy base is now. And we know it's 24 million going back, but not if it's 50 or 100 or 200 million going forward.
Yeah, I think, they're still, my understanding is still doing an analysis. And of course, as you know, that changes with the excess energy changes with the different capacity that's built up through the different water flow. But I'm certain that once they finish the analysis, that could all be provided.
Thanks.
Thanks, Alex. Sarah?
Hi there. What's your sense about how Legault feels about the Churchill Falls deal? Like, it's this thing that has historically been said to, kind of screw us a little bit and benefit them. What do you think his take on it is?
Well, I think, anybody, whether anyone in Canada or with a reasonable business background recognizes that this has been a lopsided deal. Was it legal? I mean, it stood the test of multiple court challenges, but it has certainly been unbalanced and punitive to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And I think that, as Premier of Quebec, he represents Quebecers, of course. But I think there is an understanding that this has not been a balanced approach, and we'll see moving forward. And again, we never discussed, it never got into anything of this particular level. It was very high level capacity in Labrador, and how we can potentially, not definitively, potentially work together in a responsible way to exercise the opportunities that exist there.
Okay. And I also wondered, what kind of a relationship are you hoping to build with Quebec and with Legault? Like, what kind of specifics would you like to see perhaps accomplished?
Sure. I mean, I think I've taken a collaborative approach to most things in my life, and this would be certainly something that I try to employ here. I do think that there is opportunity, especially as we emerge from this time of disruption, not to revert to the mean and to open up other opportunities as a result. And again, I know that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians feel a degree of angst and fear when it comes to potential relationship with Quebec, but I encourage everyone to have a full understanding about what 2041 actually means to the province, and to not be anchored in the fear of the past, but recognize the reasonable opportunities in the future. And I think that together, working in a collaborative way, recognizing that Newfoundland and Labrador has to get the primary beneficiary, has to be the primary beneficiary of any potential future deals, is the way to move forward, because it is our resource.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining. Oh, is VO on now?
Yeah,
Okay.
Apparently VO had a fire drill or something.
Sorry about that.
Yes, we did.
VOCM? One question, one follow-up, Richard.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we had a very ill-timed fire drill. So, I'm not sure what was fully covered with this, but Premier, I'll just get, what was your general feeling coming out of this meeting, and how productive do you think that it was?
It was a great meeting. It was a great opportunity to meet with Premier Legault. Of course, we share the largest land border of any Atlantic province with Quebec, so it was a great opportunity as Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador to have my first formal interaction with Premier Legault. There are significant areas of collaboration that we can exercise into the future for sure. Some of them are immediate, like potential, sharing of COVID-19 experiences, and then some of them are long-term. But it's certainly I feel like we have a good relationship moving forward, and one that I'm hoping to continue to build on.
And 9 new cases of COVID-19 were announced today. There were exposure notifications issued on the West Coast, some in Central as well. What's your message to people now that we're seeing more of these situations pop up over the last couple of days?
get vaccinated. The more people that get vaccinated, the more people that are protected. And on top of that, please make sure that you're following Dr. Fitzgerald and her team's guidance. Of course, we've gone down levels, but that doesn't mean that we have relaxed some of the recommendations, including social distancing, knowing who you're gathering with. But please get vaccinated. That's the number one weapon against COVID-19. We have some great rates, but we can always be better. We can lead the country if everyone just recognizes how important it is to get vaccinated. I've heard, as I've traveled across the province, some myths with respect to the vaccine. I can tell you as a doctor that this vaccine is safe, it's effective, it works. Of course, there are going to be the occasional breakthrough, but when they do break through, people don't get sick. It's not a burden on the hospital system. And we're seeing that play out to a certain extent as cases rise elsewhere in the world. You're seeing that this is a pandemic now of the unvaccinated, and those who are vaccinated will be protected largely from the ICU capacity issues that we need to so importantly treasure.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Premier, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share?
Thanks for joining us today. It was again a productive introductory meeting, a very high level approach to many items, and I look forward to having them again in the short term with Premier Legault and other premiers, as I think that as we emerge from this pandemic, it's important that we've recognized how we've collaborated together weekly as premiers, and that certainly that there are other opportunities now to do so as well. I would also really like to just make a general statement about the tone and tenor of some of the protests that we're seeing across the country. I think, Canada is better than that. We can be better than that. We certainly have the best country in the world, one that's built on a respectful discussion and debate. And certainly we all want that, but no one needs to be subject to racial slurs or some of the protests that we've seen on TV. And I think that we can all be better than that.
All right, thank you. And Richard, we can follow up with you in case you need the recording. Okay?
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.